and welcome. My name is Mary Maxine Brown, and I am a member of the Worship Committee here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tippecanoe County. Our interim minister is Reverend Rosemary Morrison. Here are a few announcements. Today, April 4th, the 8th Principal Task Force will begin their discussions of the book Me and White Supremacy. The Program Council will meet on Zoom on Tuesday, April 6th at 7 p.m. Saturday, April 10th, the Diversity Roundtable is hosting a Diversity Summit, Turning Conversation into Action, on Zoom. Next Sunday, April 11th, from 9 to 10 a.m., there will be a Zoom forum, Impact of Climate Change. And on Sunday, April 18th, from 11:30 to 12:30 following church, the newcomers' orientation will take place on Zoom. So all of these meetings are virtual on Zoom, and their dates and Zoom addresses are also listed in the lighted chalice.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tippecanoe County. My name is the Reverend Rosemary Morrison, and I am delighted and honored to be serving this congregation as the interim minister. Soon your new settled minister will be here, August 1st. What exciting times, and we are in this exciting liminal space as we are waiting for, and not quite yet, newness of life. Easter is a time of newness of life, and here we are on this beautiful Easter morning. And I found this call to worship. Easter is a holiday of miracles. It is life from death, joy from sorrow, celebration from mourning. Easter reminds us that all is never lost, that the story continues as long as we are here to tell it. So gather up your worries. We are going to bury them beneath the ground and watch them transform into flowers of hope, pushing through the earth, reminding us that on Easter morning, love brings us back to life, calls us from sadness, from grief, from anxiety, into a world renewed and alive and filled with joy once again. So come, let us worship together on this beautiful Sunday, Easter morning. Let us gather together, let us welcome one another. Let us remember that all are welcome, regardless of whom you love, how you feel in your body. You are welcome here. So come, put away your distractions and let us worship together.
Our chalice lighting words this morning are by Dillman Baker Sorrells. For holy days on which we recall the old stories. For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. Let us now recite the words of our covenant, which are in the chat box. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Let us join in singing with Denise Wilson and Michael Lewis, hymn number 38, Morning Has Broken.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the sweat garden, sprung in completeness, where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, even softly. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world.
The Empty Pot by Demi. A long time ago in China, there was a boy named Ping who loved flowers. Anything he planted burst into bloom. Up came flowers, bushes, and even big fruit trees, as if by magic. Everyone in the kingdom loved flowers too. They planted them everywhere, and the air smelled like perfume. The emperor loved birds and animals, but flowers most of all, and he tended his own garden every day. But the emperor was very old. He needed to choose a successor to the throne. Who would his successor be, and how would the emperor choose? Because the emperor loved flowers so much, he decided to let the flowers choose. The next day, a proclamation was issued. All the children in the land were to come to the palace. There they would be given special flower seeds by the emperor. Whoever can show me their best in a year's time, he said, will succeed me to the throne. This news created great excitement throughout the land. Children from all over the country swarmed to the palace to get their flower seeds. All the parents wanted their children to be chosen emperor, and all the children hoped they would be chosen too. When Ping received his seed from the emperor, he was the happiest child of all. He was sure he could grow the most beautiful flower. Ping filled a flower pot with rich soil. He planted the seed in it very carefully. He watered it every day. He couldn't wait to see it sprout, grow, and blossom into a beautiful flower. Day after day passed, but nothing grew in his pot. Ping was very worried. He put new soil into a bigger pot. Then he transferred the seed into the rich black soil. Another 2 months he waited. Still nothing happened. By and by, the whole year passed. Spring came, and all the children put on their best clothes to greet the emperor. They rushed to the palace with their beautiful flowers, eagerly hoping to be chosen. Ping was ashamed of his empty pot. He thought the other children would laugh at him because, for once, he couldn't get a flower to grow. His clever friend ran by holding a great big plant. "Ping," he said, "you're not really going to the emperor with an empty pot, are you? Couldn't you grow a great big flower like mine?" "I've grown lots of flowers better than yours," Ping said. "It's just this seed that won't grow." Ping's father overheard this and said, "You did your best, and your best is good enough to present to the emperor." Holding the empty pot in his hands, Ping went straight away to the palace. The emperor was looking at the flowers slowly, one by one. How beautiful all the flowers were! But the emperor was frowning and did not say a word. Finally, he came to Ping. Ping hung his head in shame, expecting to be punished. The emperor asked him, "Why did you bring an empty pot?" Ping started to cry and replied, "I planted the seed you gave me, and I watered it every day, but it didn't sprout. I put it in a better pot with better soil, but it still didn't sprout. I tended it all year long, but nothing grew. So today I am here to bring an empty pot without a flower. It was the best I could do." When the emperor heard these words, a smile slowly spread over his face, and he put his arm around Ping. Then he exclaimed to one and all, "I have found him! I have found the one person worthy of being emperor. Where you got your seeds from, I do not know, for the seeds I gave you had all been cooked, so it was impossible for any of them to grow. I admire Ping's great courage to appear before me with the empty truth, and now I reward him with my entire kingdom and make him emperor of all the land."
Beginning to think that I'm wasting time. I don't understand the things I do. The world outside looks so unkind, but I'm counting on you to carry me through. Oh, give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away.
When my mind is free, you know a melody can move me. When I'm feeling blue, guitar's coming through to soothe me. Thanks for the joy that you've given me. I hope that you know I believe in your song. The rhythm, the rhyme, the harmony, they help me along. They're keeping me strong. Oh,
give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away. Give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I wanna get lost in your rock and roll and drift away.
Spring is here. Do you feel the urge to stretch and grow? One way to do that is to give from your heart. Your gifts are needed, wanted, and appreciated. You may give to the church through our website, uuctc.org, or you may use the Square website if you would like to share your gift with our Change for Change recipient. For March and April, our Change for Change recipient is the Good Samaritan program at the Lafayette Urban Ministry, or LUM. Please enjoy Richard Maddox's offering of Eric Satie's music, Gymnopédie 1. Thanks.
Today's poem is by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt, inspired by the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verse 34. Here's the verse. So the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading bowls wrapped in their cloaks upon their shoulders. Here's the poem, entitled Ready. You'll need to travel light. Take what you can carry, a book, a poem, a battered tin cup, your child strapped to your chest, clutching your necklace in one hot, possessive fist. So the dough isn't ready, so your heart isn't ready. You haven't said goodbye to the places where you hid as a child, to the friends who aren't interested in the journey, to the graves you've tended. But if you wait until you feel fully ready, you may never take the leap at all. And infinity is calling you forth, out of this birth canal and into the future's wide expanse. Learn to improvise flat cakes without yeast. Learn to read new alphabets. Wear God like a cloak and stride forth with confidence. You won't know where you're going, but you have the words of our sages, the songs of our mothers, the inspiration wrapped in your kneading bowl. Trust that what you carry will sustain you, and take the first step out the door.
And now we come to that time in our service where we are going to share with one another our joys and concerns. But first, let's just have a moment to ground ourselves, to center ourselves into the moment. So I invite you to feel the chair or couch or floor that you are standing or sitting upon, I invite you to take a few deep breaths, a few centering, cleansing breaths. And breathe in life and newness. And breathe out all that is no longer sustaining you or feeding you or nourishing you. Breathing in the newness of this Easter season, the newness of life, the greening of the earth, the opportunity for second chances, for do-overs. And I invite you just to take 2 or 3 more breaths, focusing in on your breath. It is the custom of this congregation to share with one another their joys and concerns, and this is usually done spoken in the sanctuary on the first Sunday of each month. And so here we are on this Easter morning, the first Sunday of this month, and I invite you, as we try to do our best to create community, to show our love for one another in this weird and wonderful time of pandemic. Well, the pandemic isn't wonderful, but the weird and wonderful experience of Zoom. So I invite you to put your joys and concerns into the chat box, letting one another know of what is going on in your life. What are the concerns of your heart? What are the joys you have been experiencing? And please put them into the chat. And I encourage you to respond, to be holding people in prayer or holding their name into the light, whatever feels appropriate for you to be doing that. And as you do that, I will light candles on your behalf. Lighting candles of joy for the greening of the earth, for the newness of life, for healing, for those that require healing. For the joy of being in community. Continue on. Read, typing into the chat your joys and concerns and responding as appropriate. And as we continue on, we will move into a time of musical meditation. We are so blessed. I'm going to light a candle for all the musicians we are so blessed to have in this community. The joy of music. Okay, this brand new candle does not want to light. I'm determined. There we go. Let us gaze upon our beautiful chalice. The candles are lit. Our joys and concerns have been verbalized, responded to, and I'm sure there are still more that are holding you, that are being held in your hearts. You may continue putting them into the chat, or I would like to say, we are holding them with you in all of our lives, our hearts, our minds, our prayers. And as we continue on in a spirit of meditation, I invite you to sing with Hilary Noel, hymn number 123, Spirit of Life. And continue throughout the song, if you so desire, to put your joys and concerns into the chat and to greet one another. Amen.
Good morning, everyone. This song is number 123 in our charcoal hymnal titled Spirit of Life. Please join us in singing.
To you who celebrate Easter, I would like to wish you a happy Easter. To you who celebrate Passover, I wish you a wonderful Passover season. This time of year, all over the world, people are celebrating the changing of the seasons. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, the hours in the day the sun is with us increases, and in the Southern Hemisphere, the days are getting shorter. The changing seasons has always brought celebrations, spring and new life, fall and harvest. For us here, we are enjoying warmer weather, longer days, and of course, this weekend is Easter. I love Easter, but not so much during a pandemic. In my family, growing up, we cooked a ham and ate it with my mother's amazing scallop potatoes and pineapple. Ham and pineapple. Growing up, every Easter Sunday morning, we went to church. Then we came home and had a nap after lunch, and then we proceeded to cook a beautiful meal for friends and family. Most often we would have guests. My parents didn't think about Easter eggs or baskets, and so I didn't really know about that. Sometimes Dad would come home from the store with one of those eggs with a name in it in a box. Until I didn't know about Easter baskets or anything like that until one Easter. We went to my aunt's for Easter, my dad's sister, and she lived just outside of Vancouver, and we traveled there from Saskatchewan, which was a big trip. I woke up on Easter morning to what was to me an amazing assortment of treats and things in an Easter basket. There was also an Easter egg hunt that afternoon, and I wasn't very good at that. I had never experienced it before as a kid, and so didn't know what to do or where to look. I remember being a bit embarrassed because all the littler kids got more chocolate than me, but I did get enough to soothe my bruised ego. Growing up in my home, Easter was all about the death and resurrection of Christ, and the Easter bunny didn't really figure in. So how did that mishmash happen anyway? How did Easter become both recognizing the passion of Christ of the New Testament and the gathering of chocolate? First of all, let's be clear that this time of year has been special for humans since there were humans. The return of the light, the greening of plants, and the birth of new life. It meant you survived another winter. Not everyone did. In All About Easter, the pagan goddess of dawn, we learn, as a holiday, Easter predates Christianity and was originally the name for spring equinox celebrations. Easter occurs on the Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. Most of the symbolism comes from the celebrations of spring equinox. For example, we paint Easter eggs with bright colors, reflecting spring of those spring flowers, reflecting the colors of the spring flowers. Eggs may be linked to the fact that chickens stopped laying in the winter and resumed again in the spring. Understandably, folks celebrated by decorating them, or it's a good story. Also, eggs and rabbits symbolize fertility, something that is needed to survive. Jacob Grimm of the Brothers Grimm wrote, Easter seems to have been the divinity of the radiant dawn of upspringing light, a spectacle that brings joy and blessings, whose meaning could be easily adapted by the resurrection day of the Christian's God. It makes sense that the chosen date to represent the rebirth of Jesus was based around a time that was already being celebrated for light and life. What we can see is that this special time of year is full of celebrations. And each culture had and still has festivals and feasting to go with them. In Thailand, for example, there is the Songkran Water Festival, where folks go to a Buddhist monastery. They also visit their elders, and they throw water. Thus, the Water Festival. There is loud music, pressure hoses, water guns, and dancing in the streets. Kind of my kind of party. It sounds like a lot of fun. In northern India, the colorful festival of Holi happens this time of year. It involves throwing colored powder at one another to pay homage to the many colors of spring. As well, it mirrors some of the mythological stories of the area. In Central Asia, Nowruz celebrates new life, new beginnings, and the rebirth of nature. This festival includes bonfires, costumes, and remembering of families, both alive and departed. There are, of course, many others. There's thousands of different kinds of festivals and gatherings that celebrate this time of year, and I invite you to look into those if you're so interested. And we as humans are influenced by the changing seasons, as well as by the tides and the phases of the moon. We are very vulnerable here on this little blue dot called planet Earth, and we depend on each other. And we depend on the sun in the sky to survive. The celebrations reinforce that we are not alone, that we need each other, and that without community, we are sunk. Let's look at the story of the rolling away of the stone and the discovery of the empty tomb on Easter morning. Mark 16, 1-4. When the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go and anoint him. And very early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb?" And when they looked up, they saw that the stone, which was very large, had already been rolled back. In the story, these three women very much loved Jesus and had spent a lot of time with him during his life. They took it upon themselves to do this important thing, to anoint the body, and they were worried about how they were going to get the stone moved out of their way. There are tasks, both pleasant and unpleasant, that we have to do in our lives. We get married, we have children, we go to school and start a career, we get a job, and not all in that order. Sometimes we have to deal with the death of a loved one, or our marriage falls apart, bringing sweeping changes to our lives. Sometimes we have to move swiftly and not wait for the proverbial bread to rise. I think that anyone who has been a refugee can relate to that story. We never know what is going to happen when we open a door, roll back a stone, walk down an aisle, or become a parent. All we know for sure is that we can't do it alone. We need one another. We need community to help us do the heavy lifting, be it helping move our belongings, or a shoulder to cry on, or the gift of holy listening. It is in community that we care for one another. I've said it before, this is the saddest part of this awful pandemic. We are not able to be there for one another during the transitions of our lives. When there are funerals and memorial services, the birth of a child, all those special moments mark our lives. The two Marys and Salome arrived at the tomb to do the work that family does when we look after our deceased. They couldn't do it on their own. And so the metaphor in this story is obvious. We need help. The flip side of this is that so many of us try to do these hard things on our own. We think that asking for help or sharing when we are vulnerable shows weakness. Nothing could be further from the truth. When we allow ourselves to show our vulnerability and ask for help when we need it, that is when we are strengthened, when we build resilience. Of course, vulnerability is always tempered with boundaries, and we need to be careful of whom we are asking and be aware of sharing appropriately. I have been learning a lot lately about how past traumas affect us. And one of the things that happen when we are traumatized is that we think we can go it alone, that we don't need any help. The stories in Exodus and Mark show us that even thousands of years ago, people were writing about how we need one another, how we can't go it alone, and survive. This Easter and spring equinox, remember that as human beings, we are not supposed to be acting only as individuals. We are meant to rely upon one another for our very survival. Reach out to one another. Allow yourself to be seen. Ask for help when you need it. And find someone appropriate to listen to you when you need to talk. This age of rugged individualism and each person for themselves goes against how we are hardwired, and acting in this way can make us feel very lonely, and it isn't good for us in any way. That is why being part of a loving community is so important. We celebrate with eggs, chocolate, bunnies, and resurrection. These symbols are all about new life, new beginnings, and renewed commitment. So be there for one another. Rejoice in the promise spring has laid out for us. And may you be joyful in the planning and the planting. So may it be. Amen.
Let's sing together our final hymn, number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. Jess Hudeman will be leading us.
All creatures of the earth and sky, come kindred, lift your voices high. Alleluia, alleluia. Bright burning sun with golden beam, soft shining moon with silver gleam. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia. Swift rushing wind so wild and strong, white clouds that sail in heaven along. Alleluia, alleluia. Fair rising morn in praise rejoice. High stars of evening find a voice. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Alleluia, alleluia.
Hi, I'm Barney Dunning, and I have some exciting news to bring you from the Ministerial Search Committee. This week, we talked to our top candidate to be our new minister and invited them to come to West Lafayette to participate at the end of this month for our candidating week, and they have accepted. Notice I did not say that we offered them the job. That's not the role of the search committee. Instead, the congregation votes whether or not to call a specific person to be our new minister. The candidate will be here from April 25th through May 2nd and will lead the services on both of those Sundays. A congregational meeting will be held on May 2nd after the service to vote on whether to call the candidate. We're hoping that some of the events that normally take place during candidating week can be done in person, but we will do what is safe and prudent. And we're going to work with the board, program council, and Reverend Rosemary and everybody else to decide what that is. We can't tell you who yet the candidate is. We need to do some things like background checks and contract negotiations, but hopefully fairly quickly here, we'll be able to give you a name and a website and let you start to know the candidate. So that's the announcement. Some search committee members are going to be available during the coffee hour today after service to answer what questions that we can.
We extinguish our chalice this morning with words by Reverend Alex Holt for Easter. For all those who celebrate the resurrection of Jesus, may this day be another affirmation of divine love and promise. For all those who see the eternal story of new spring and life beginning anew, may you breathe deeply of a season of promise and hope. For all who are experiencing despair or hopelessness this Easter, may you find in the depths of depression a doorway to hope and warmth that offers you freedom. For all of us, together we can do what no one isolated person can do. Rolling the heavy stone aside reminds us we are far more powerful together than we ever could be on our own. Our offering of strong hands to help are prayers made real. Let us begin again to love. Please join us after a 5-minute break following the service for coffee and conversation in the same Zoom space. And also this afternoon is the beginning of the book discussion for the 8th Principal Task Force, Me and White Supremacy.
And now, as we come to the end of the service, I would like to thank everyone that participated in this service, everyone that came this morning to this service, everyone that found nourishment and life and love anew. Without you, we cannot do this. So I'm so glad that you are here, that you participated, that you contributed, and you shared your talents and your expertise. And now I offer you words of benediction. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break and all things mend, but not with time, as they say, with intention. So go and love intentionally, love extravagantly, and love unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is in you. So share your light into the world and go in peace, my gentle people. Go in peace.
Bye.